Welcome to Rev Up Your Potential with Hilda Gann, the stories about entrepreneurs, business leaders, and HR professionals and their successes and struggles along their journey. In this podcast, we also discuss the HR challenges that people face and the tips and strategies that have helped them. If you love to learn through storytelling, join us. Today, my guest is Carl Richards. He is the founder and CEO of two companies, Carl Speaks, as well as Podcast Production Made Simple. I am delighted to have him. He loves to help people, entrepreneurs or career-minded people, find their voice. Carl, thanks for joining me today.
Hilda, it's an honor to be here. Thanks so much for having me on your show. This is exciting.
I'm so glad that you're here. I find it really interesting because you actually have been in radio broadcasting for 25 years. Tell us a little bit about your history, your company.
Oh my goodness. How much time do I have?
Do this part in 3 minutes because I want to talk
This
more
much
about
time,
other things.
yeah, for sure. No, I spent 25 years in radio broadcasting, many musical formats, and many different cities as well, town to town, up and down the dial. That's what you do in radio broadcasting. Somewhere between jobs, I also fell into or developed this love of speaking in front of an audience outside of a broadcast booth. So I was in Toastmasters for a number of years, fell in love with speaking and presenting and speech contests and all of that stuff. And from there, between jobs, it also became a business for me to speak and help people with their presentation skills. It's one of the things that keeps people stuck is when they can't articulate their messaging correctly. So I did that for a while. And then this thing called the pandemic hit, and that gave me a clear opportunity to pivot and also help people with not only their speaking but their marketing, in the sense of getting their messaging out there on the podcasting platform. So that's really where the focus has been in the last 2.5 years, is with that. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have had that time in radio, been between jobs in my career, and then also done the public speaking thing. I don't think we'd be having this conversation today if it wasn't for those opportunities that presented themselves along the way.
What would be a tip that you would offer to people who are trying to not only find their voice, but have their voice be presented in a way that captures their audience?
Oh, well, the biggest tip I share with people is if you want to get better at speaking, if you want to be clear with your messaging, you have to speak.
Exactly.
It sounds glaringly obvious, but you would be surprised, Hilda, or maybe you wouldn't be based on where your career path has taken you, the number of people who think that it's just this magic potion or this magic thing that happens. No, if you want to get better at hockey, what do? You just don't read about hockey. You have to go out and do it. If you want to be better at music, you just don't read about how to play the piano. You have to physically, and sometimes it's painstakingly, it's painstaking for months, weeks, years of practice to get good at something. It's the same with speaking. I didn't just wake up one morning and boom, there I am in radio. No, it took a lot of years to do that. But if you don't speak, if you don't get the training, if you don't get the help, if you don't get whatever it is you need to be better at something, then it's not going to happen. You just can't expect it to happen. So you really, if you want to be better at speaking, and you know this from your Toastmasters journey as well, you have to speak. You have to open your mouth and you have to speak more and speak often.
Yes, and I totally agree with you. I mean, I've been an educator since my 20s, and every time I just kept growing. I could speak in front
Yeah.
of 7 people, no sweat after the first few times. And then I could speak in front of 25. I could speak in 100. I could speak at an international conference. This did not come just overnight. And we were talking just before we started the thing, and I said, I speak a lot. My husband will say, can you do this presentation for the staff, say goodbye to them? And he tells me like 5 minutes beforehand. But the speech comes, naturally.
Yeah.
The butterflies aren't there. And he said, the first time I had to do my Toastmaster speech, which is the just get acquainted speech. I forget how they call it, and it was like butterflies in the stomach. I was afraid for the
Yeah.
words. And I think part of it was because I was giving an emotional speech.
Hmm.
to my staff.
Yeah.
And I had to be that role model because we created a corporate Toastmasters club. So I was,
Right.
yeah, so much pressure. But normally, yeah, you got to practice, and the more you practice, the more it becomes. Now, you've got this beautiful smooth voice that I could listen to forever, calming, soothing, whatever you. Okay, I'm flattering you, right?
Why, thank you. I can
You're
read you a bedtime story
welcome.
if you want me to. I don't know if I want to be the person that puts you to sleep, but certainly yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
so you have that radio voice
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
I would dial into that
Yeah.
station and listen to you. But you have a story behind the success, that what I'll call that key pivotal moment that has led you to
Hmm.
be this talk radio broadcast, not talk radio, but a radio broadcaster. Share with the group what that childhood experience is.
Oh, absolutely. It's a story that I've told on stage numerous times. It's a subject of many of the talks that I've given. I used to stutter when I was a kid horribly. Every second or third word would be like this, and I couldn't say the words properly. And my parents, try as they may, they didn't know what to do, and there wasn't enough resources available at the time in the education system to just cure me or help me with my stuttering. So it wasn't until I went to speech therapy. Oh, and by the way, the stutter was so bad that I remember being about 12 years old and deciding, I don't know where this came from, but to read a passage from the Bible in church. And I remember thinking, okay, this is a big move for a kid who stutters. And I remember standing there and reading the passage. I don't remember the passage, but I remember reading it. And I started to stutter. And
Mm.
I was sweating. I was nervous. I felt like, the bright spotlight. I was like deer in the headlights. Really, it was. I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. And it wasn't until the minister came behind me and put his hand on my shoulder and started reading the passage with me that I was able to get through it. That was extremely, extremely embarrassing. But if it wasn't for that situation, it wouldn't have led to my parents eventually finding a way to put me into speech therapy. And it was 2 years of speech therapy where I was with a group of boys all around the same age, and we all stuttered. We all stuttered. But it was from there that I learned a very valuable lesson in stuttering. I learned a lot. But the biggest lesson I learned was the only person in control of your speaking is you. The only person in control of your speaking is you. So when you're a stutter, that's a huge thing. But even when you're in business and you're talking about messaging and presenting, the only person that's in control of that is you. That was a very powerful nugget that I learned along the way. And then I developed this love of radio, which was it's another story altogether.
But how did you go from stuttering to even feeling confident and comfortable to speak? Did like I find that when people tease you, it makes
Yeah.
it worse, right?
Oh,
Well, I was talking to somebody, and when I was younger, I spoke Chinese fairly well,
mm-hmm.
Cantonese, and then people would correct you. They would laugh at you. They would
Yeah.
say, "This isn't the word you want to use." And when you're young, you're a bit shy. Well, I was
Yeah.
even. I know people think you're shy, but you're shy, and so that just turns you away. And so when you don't practice, you lose it. And when I was a teenager, I thought I have this knowledge of how to speak,
Mm-hmm.
but if I don't try to fight and get it back, I'm not going to get it back. And so I did things like I spoke to somebody in Cantonese while she spoke to me in English because she wanted to improve her English. I wanted to improve my Cantonese. So did you find that you were teased, and did that impact on your journey to get more confident?
Oh gosh, I mean, absolutely. The teasing was unbelievable. Here I am, a kid who stutters. Like any kid in the 1970s, I can honestly say my mother dressed me funny. So it was an absolutely crazy time. And it's not like I was athletic either. It's not like I played sports. I was this geeky kid who stuttered and wore, the big flared bell-bottom pants and flashy sweaters and stuff like that. So it was embarrassing to be stuttering. And yeah, there were many years where I barely spoke unless I absolutely had to. And it was being in speech therapy where my confidence developed, because we were basically told that it's okay to stutter. Everyone stammers and stutters at some point, even if it's a very small amount. People do it, not even thinking about it. So it was being able to, and accepting the fact that, yes, it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to stutter. You don't have to perfect it. That helped to raise the confidence, being able to not stutter profusely, but being able to control, again, it goes back to that controlling your speaking, that also helped to raise the confidence. And then really taking advantage of opportunities to dive into things like be in a theater and take dramatic arts in school and play in concert band and really do things that stretched how I dealt with the nervousness and the stage fright. That really helped as well. But it didn't happen. It didn't come overnight. And it was probably around the time when I was in high school, tail end of high school, when I really started to develop that confidence and realize that the other thing too that we don't realize is when we're kids, and even as adults too, but when we're kids, it really, I think, sticks with us, is we're concerned about what people think.
Yeah.
And we take it hard, especially when we're kids. When we're adults, we can kind of brush it off a little bit, or we have enough mental exercises we can do to dismiss it. But when we're kids, the teasing, the bullying, all of that stuff, it can have an adverse effect on us. And when we're adults, it's different. Being able to move past that though and say, hey, I don't care what you say about me. Here's what I'm doing with my life. Here's what I'm going to do for my career. I don't care what anybody says. And that took a little bit of moxie to be able to do that. But then also, stepping into a career like radio broadcasting where you're exposed all the time. You're in the limelight. You're in the spotlight. Even if you don't want to be, you're there. So that really helped to, I think, raise the confidence level as well.
So what got you into radio? I mean, I can see the incremental confidence journey. This is your passion. This is your love. How did this translate from stuttering, feeling, bullied and insecure at times by this, and moving beyond that to this very confident person who loves to speak?
It's a good thing that you asked that, because really what I wanted to do when I was 14, I remember going with my dad to an audition for acting because I really wanted to be an actor. And we went for this audition, and I think the acting lessons back then, we're talking 1985, 86, something like that. The acting lessons back then were something like $1,000 or $1,500. And my dad just didn't have the money. He said, Carl, I can't send you to acting school. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. So I then said, okay, well, that's fine. And I didn't dismiss it as in, oh my goodness, now my life is over. It was, okay, well, what else am I interested in? And I realized that there were many people in the broadcast world, in the radio world, who started out in the acting world, rather, who started out in radio broadcasting. And radio, to me at the time, growing up listening to AM radio at the time was very animated, a lot of, character building, a lot of fun in the radio industry back then. And I thought, you know what? If I can't make it as an actor, I know I could probably be successful in radio, and that could lead to acting opportunities. So the truth is I never became an actor, but I did become a broadcaster. And it's that theater of the mind, which is what radio has been referred to since time immemorial as far as radio goes. It's that theater of the mind that led me to it, and that ability to entertain, influence, inspire, and educate people and inform people that really drove me to it. And then I loved music as well. So the love of those aspects, the theater, the information, the entertainment, as well as the love of music, is what led me to a career in broadcasting, which was not a cakewalk, by the way. I mean, there were a lot of hurdles to clear with that, but it certainly gave me a solid foundation, which led the way to an enjoyable 25-year career almost in the industry. I loved it.
Share one of those hurdles. You said it wasn't a cakewalk. So
what
was one of those hurdles?
I was a very fast talker when I was a teenager, late teens, early 20s, and I would speak very quickly. So I had to learn how to slow down my delivery. I don't know if I was trying to make
So
up for
from
lost
stuttering to
time.
talking so fast, people can't understand what you're saying? You mean
Well,
that?
I don't know if I don't know if I was making up for lost time or what I was doing, but I spoke that quickly. But not only that, I would speak so quickly and expel all of my breath that I would take these gasps at the end of it. So imagine those early audition tapes, and it was literally tape back then, right? So here I am saying that 1220 CJRL, and that's a song, and here's a. And by the way, here's something I want to say. So, oh my goodness, it's just absolutely horrible. I still have those tapes somewhere. I just don't think I have a cassette deck anymore to play them on. But literally, that was one of the things I did. And sometimes I still, when I get excited, I have to really monitor and slow down my rate of speech. So that was one of the big ones, was slowing down my speaking and really, again, being in control of the speaking, but also understanding there's another component to this. Because I think one of the things that happens is people think, and sometimes they'll do this with presentations as well, is that they have to tell the audience absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I have a 15-minute presentation, I have to give my whole life story in 15 minutes. Well, no, the honest truth is in 15 minutes, you can share one, maybe two things with the audience. That's Toastmasters 101 training, right? They say in Toastmasters, in a 5 to 7 minute speech, 2 to 3 points max. Anything more than that, you're going to run out of time, and you're probably going to lose the audience.
Yeah, they're
and
not
it's not going
remember.
to work.
They'll remember
Exactly.
one thing of the 20 things you said. So,
well, now scale that back even more, because you have 1, maybe 2 minutes tops to get your message across on radio. How many things do you think you can cover in 1 minute? One thing. That's it. You can cover one thing. We call it one thought per break. Anyways, that was a huge hurdle because I would try and cram so much information in that 60 to 90 seconds. So I had to learn how to really slow down my delivery, focus on that one thing in that one moment, and then move on to the next thing. And that's what it is in the broadcasting world. It's the same in the speaking world in general, or the podcasting world too. It's that you're building a story or a program or a show using one block at a time. Even this podcast is a great example of that. You're building an episode and on a series of different blocks and topics and questions. In radio, it's the same. It's that one thought per break, or one break, or one stop down talking part, that one thing you're going to cover, whether it's the weather, whether it's a funny story you heard, whatever it is. That was the biggest hurdle because I wanted to tell everything in that time. And I overcame it. And I had some great mentors as well that really whipped me into shape pretty good. They didn't browbeat me. They just said, you know what, if you really want to work in this industry, you have to get a handle on your content. You really have to focus on what's important. That's that one thing every time you open your mouth and speak. One thing.
that is so powerful for entrepreneurs and people who are delivering. Like, I think as entrepreneurs, oftentimes they want to share everything. Or even a career-minded person, when you want to pitch, you think, I got to tell them everything. But the thing is, what is the key point, or 2 or 3 messages, if you have a half an hour, that you need to share to develop the trust, to develop the confidence, or to win that sale, right? So thank you for sharing that. What would be that one additional piece of advice that you would share with people to help them in their business or career?
Oh, one thing. I think the one thing I would share, and I think the springboards from what we were just talking about, is focus. If you focus on one thing, it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but if you focus on that one aspect of your business, what is it? Because you can't focus on everything. That's why we try, as entrepreneurs, we try to do many different things. But we learn very quickly that when we do that, nothing gets accomplished as quickly as it should. Or things don't get done in the manner that, or in the speed that we want them to, because we're focused on too many things, or we're distracted by things. And a lot of those things we're distracted by in today's day and age is social media. Rather than outsourcing our social media or having a system or a strategy that allows us to still deal with social media or Clubhouse or whatever it is, we spend too much time on it. because we feel that we have to. Whereas if we do the main thing or the one thing that we're good at and outsource the rest and focus on that one thing and do it well, it's amazing how many opportunities and how our businesses can flourish when we do that. And I'll admit, I'm just as guilty. When I started my speaking business, I said, number one thing, I said, I'll coach anybody. Big mistake. The second thing I did was, well, I can speak on any topic. Just hire me as your speaker. I'll come and speak about anything. Also a big mistake, because then where's the focus? And where's the showing of my expertise? And I've seen many entrepreneurs do this. They either do it in the sense of, pardon me, they either do it in the sense of they're focusing on too many things at the same time, or they're bringing in too many products and services, or they're offering too many products and services as opposed to being the expert in this one area. And I've seen it where entrepreneurs will say, well, I'm a professional speaker, or I'm a professional podcaster, but I have a Red Seal chef certificate, and I'm a tour guide in the summer, and I'm a broadcaster, and I'm also a life coach. And where's the focus?
Yeah, I lose them
What are you
after the
focused
first two.
on?
I lose them after the first two. Yeah, I mentored women entrepreneurs for about 5 years, and there was one woman who came every month, and every month she had a new sideline that she was
Yeah.
adding, and I'm going, oh my God, you gotta find something you're really good at, focus, and let people know you're really good at that, rather than I can do it all. What would you say, Carl, is your focus?
My focus right now, and you're right, and I think it's different from having multiple income streams. Your brand or business can have multiple income streams within it, but it's when you're focusing on those many things. Yeah. So my focus is right now. Yes, I still have clients who I help with their speaking and presentations. That is part of what I do, and I love my clients. But the biggest focus right now for me, and it's not because it's hip and it's trendy, it's just because I get this gut feeling that this is where we're going with this. And that's really helping coaches, consultants, and other subject matter experts get their podcast out there to elevate their brand, their business, and their credibility. Because podcasting isn't going away. It sounds like I'm on a soapbox, but it's not. It's not going away anytime soon. And there's a risk in not doing this, just like I believe that there was a lot of risk that business owners took when they didn't jump on the website bandwagon until the last minute. Imagine running a business in 2022. That's when this episode is being recorded. But imagine running a business in today's day and age without a website. You'd be considered. It'd be ludicrous.
Loss. Like, why would I want to work with you? You don't even have a website, right? Like,
exactly.
That's like basic 101, business 101.
But if we had this discussion 20 years ago, there were, or even 15 years ago, there are still businesses who would have said, well, I have a brick and mortar store. I put posters up all the time. I'm networking. Yeah. What else do I need? You need a website in this day and age. You also need, I believe, we're getting to the point where to continue to develop that know, like, and trust factor, you need a podcast. Just like, again, it depends on your business, of course.
Yeah, you said coaching and speakers and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. But you need to be able to speak about what it is that you do. A podcast is a platform that allows you to do that. It allows you to do it virtually, and it makes it so convenient for the person getting the content on the other end, the consumer, because they can listen to your content or watch your content at their convenience. Right. They don't have to go to a live event. They can, but they don't have to.
And then they assess whether, this person has a lot of knowledge, right? Yeah. Or, geez, this person doesn't even look confident. Why would I even want to deal with them? And what I'm hearing when I hear people who are coaches and speakers and so on say, oh, I need to get a podcast, but they're almost dragging and kicking their feet to get there. Like, I don't feel that conviction that I want to do it. Show me how. It's like, I've been told I need to do this, right? Okay, let's get over that hurdle. Let's get more positive about this and see the joy come forward versus I'm doing it because they tell me I have to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's one of those things that once you understand the validity and the importance of it and how it can affect your business positively and how negative an impact it can have by not doing it, then that's usually the catalyst that sets things in motion.
So I want to talk a little bit about HR because that's my core business, is really
Sure.
helping businesses be that better version of themselves. My
Yeah.
Rev Up concept comes from really helping businesses be more work engaged, and managers really building confidence by learning how to be excellent people managers. So one of the questions I always ask my guest is, tell us one or two headaches. But you said everything's going well right now. So I'm going to ask you instead, what are some of those key things that make your business, and I know you don't necessarily have staff, but you have associates
Yeah.
and people that you rely on. What is making that work for you, that you're enjoying the team that you have? Share some couple of things.
Sure. The biggest thing there is, number one, admitting to myself that I need a team. I can't do this all myself. And so many entrepreneurs, solopreneurs especially, they think I can do everything. No, you can't. You need it. You need some type of either a service provider or something like that, or a contractor to help you if you don't have a staff that's helping you. So the things that work well are, we have, one of the things we've implemented is a good flow for project management. And we work together, and we're very diligent at communication on projects where we're getting emails or messages in Slack or whatever it is in other places where we're always on the ball with what we need. And that's what's working very, very well. The project management. And I think that as the team expands, we're already looking at probably adding a few more subcontractors to our team in the next year. So as that expands, I think it's just going to get better because we'll have a larger team. We'll be able to provide more services. But having that project management in place and having those deadlines and timelines, and everybody knows what the other person is doing, that's number one. And number two is knowing the bigger vision. And I've been very forthcoming with my team to say, hey, here's the bigger vision. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what my focus is for the year. And here's what I'm working on this week or this month. They feel like they're a part of it because I share that with them. And so many jobs I've had in the past, they don't share the bigger vision. They share a part of it, but they don't share the whole thing. Whereas I'm very clear with my team. I say, hey, here's where things are at. This is still the goal. Here's where things are at with the vision.
That's
and
so true.
I share that. Yeah.
As what I used to guide project managers with is, when you're the project manager, don't give people just a small piece of the puzzle. Really help them understand what the picture looks like. They may have a piece in the puzzle, but give them the big picture, so when they're making decisions, when they're making choices, they're doing it so from the end game, because they know what the end game is. So that's
exactly.
great. Yeah.
And I have team members too. One of my clients that I do a lot of work for is in Germany, and they have team members that I have to chat with. And there's one in Australia, there's one in San Francisco, there's one in Florida, there's something. So there's time zones. So you're dealing with that too in some cases. So a good solid communication strategy and project management woven into that just makes it such a smoother and way more fun too, when things are clicking and cooking.
People are all together and it's a team. I always call it the we mentality versus us versus them.
Yeah.
What would you say would be, when all said and done, whenever you decide to take it easy or retire, what would you like your legacy to be?
Oh my goodness. I want to leave this planet knowing that I have had a positive influence on people and that I've been able to help them. And I know that sounds very superficial because a lot of people say that, but I have always lived by the idea of, if I can just help one person, if my podcast changes the lives of one person, or if my messaging, or if my talk, or if my business helps one person have a better quality of life or achieve their goals, then I feel like I've done my part. I'm not only resting on one, but certainly if I can help one person and be that influential. So I'm always looking for the one. And I'm always helping the one. Now, by helping the one, you end up helping the many, but I'm always focusing on that one when I'm doing that. And that's what I want to leave behind. Is it's not about how much money is in my bank account still. It's not about, how many charities did I help, although that's important too, but it's how many people did I touch, or
Yeah.
who's that
Yeah.
one person
And
that I was
sometimes
able
you
to
don't
influence.
even know the one person whose life you touched, you know,
And
because
it might not even be for business. It might be somebody that you've
yeah, yeah.
maybe saw you speak at an event, or heard your podcast, or saw your
There's
video,
when you find that you've done something, and sometimes you don't even need to know what you've done. You just need to know that you made an effort to make a difference. It's a feeling inside that's good. So I
yeah.
know it sounds motherhood or fatherhood or what it sounds like everybody says it, but
Mhm.
internally it's how you feel. So thank you for sharing that.
Exactly.
What's next for you, and how do we get a hold of you?
Well, what's next is global domination as I go one by one by one. But no, seriously, what's next for me is good news is the company is expanding. I'm very, very thrilled for that. We're looking at adding a good number of clients to our roster over the next couple of years. We want to be number one. There's another number one, but we want to be number one. We want to be top of mind when it comes to podcasts, agency services for people. I think we do it right. I think we continue to do it right, and that's certainly the big focus. And we're well positioned to do that. And as far as getting a hold of me, it's very easy to do. I'm all over social media. Just look for Carl Richards. You can't help me. If you're seeing the video, you can see the chrome dome. So just watch for the bald head. And I'm usually wearing a shirt and a tie. But then also, you can go to Ask Carl at carlspeaks.ca. My website, carlspeaks.ca. We're in the middle of a huge rebrand right now. So there's a lot of exciting things happening for the podcasting division, which is still to come. But certainly, that's a good way to reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody. And certainly, I'd love to find out more about you too, and what you do, and how we can support you. And that's not about supporting you as in
Yeah.
give me money so I can be a service provider for you. It's support you as in whatever your journey is. Do you need somebody to like and share your posts on social media? Whatever it is, love to have a conversation with you.
You've always been generous with your time and your support of others. I do want to mention though, you started a networking for podcasters. Do you want to just mention that before we go off air?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. It's called Podcast Alliance Made Simple. And basically, what it is a networking group for hosts and guests of podcasts to connect, collaborate, and then also, learn. And I've just launched the community recently. So there's a lot of growth opportunity there as well. And the purpose of it is to get more podcasters in front of the guests that they want to connect with them, but then also to get the guests into an environment where they can also connect with the hosts that they feel are going to make a difference as they build out their know, like, and trust factor as well. Now, there are other groups out there, a ton of them on Facebook and other social media platforms. The challenge is some of those groups are so large, they're hard to navigate. It's hard to figure out, who do I even start to ask and where do I go? The purpose of this group is to keep it very close knit. And by close knit, I mean probably, as far as growth potential, maybe a couple of hundred people down the line, so that we can keep it that tight and that small and still supportive of each other. And, certainly if you're hearing this podcast, Hilda's a part of the group, by the way. We're so glad she's there. You're more than welcome to join Hilda as a guest anytime and find out more about what the group is about, and if it's a fit for you and your brand and your business.
Thank you, Carl, because you didn't mention it, and I think it's important if people are
Yeah.
trying to start out. Sometimes having a network in the area of your focus at this point is helpful, and I think your
Yeah.
your network is one that really can do that for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. It
Thank
can.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl, for joining me today. It's a pleasure to talk to you, to inspire people from stuttering to becoming a person who just loves to speak and help others gain confidence in their speaking. I've been so grateful for you to share your knowledge with people today. Thank you for tuning in to Rev Up Your Potential with Hilda Gann. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on YouTube and Spotify to stay up to date on our latest episodes. For HR tips, news, and strategies, or if you're interested in being a guest on our podcast, visit our website at peoplebrightconsulting.com.